I just wanted to quickly share something that Mitch and I were doing as we were solving a problem with MMC. They asked us to bring in a new Excel data source, which was very complicated, and as you can see, there's lots of columns, and they're not all the same, and the granularity isn't the same here. They'll have a column that is the sum of all the other ones, and then down the left side as well, there's some that should be combined and some that are different. And so what we did to solve this problem is we wrote a VBA macro that they can use that will take this worksheet and convert it into basically a CSV format that then they can upload to Tableau, and then they can get in and start playing with the data, start looking at what it is. And we found it really useful because this beginning process is iterative as you go back and forth on what data they need and what should be combined and how to fix and clean problems in the data. And so with a macro, it was in a very fluid state. We could quickly change it and output the file, have them upload it really quick to Tableau, and then they could look at it and say, this looks like what we want to see. So I want to show you briefly kind of how we did this and how it works, and some of the experiences that we had, what was good and what was bad about it, and then if anyone else on the team sees problems with it or maybe wants to use it on their own projects, if they have really messy Excel data sources, feel free to do that or let me know afterwards what you think. But so we take this file that they have, and we wrote a VBA macro, which is, you can see here, that basically maps out a little bit of what the source value should be in the final outcome, and then loops through the worksheet and pulls the specific values that they want to see. And then at the end of it, here, it offers them a save as prompt, and then they can save it as the name of whatever file that they want to then upload to Tableau. So this is what the original one looks like, and there's data all over the place. When they save it as, this is the final value, and it's just a flat table with dates and the amounts and whatever dimensions that they want to see all combined there. And then the great thing about this is we were able to do this in a day. They had asked us, we want to get this data as soon as possible, make this your #1 priority. We want to start looking at this and decide what we can do with this data. And so a day later, we sent them this file and said, upload this to Tableau, and yeah, you should be able to see what you need to get started. And we've been going back and forth ever since as they've seen, okay, well, these accounts need to be combined. These ones are named the wrong thing in a different month. Let's see if we can make those the same. And they've looked at the other accounts. They've also looked at the final values here. This is just the dummy data for MMC. And we were able to go back and forth and do a lot of the iterating and deciding what the ETL process should be and what the correct way to bring the data across is. And what's nice about that is that when we go to create the C# script later on in an SSIS package, we know exactly what the logic needs to be, and the users of the data, the people who are going to actually use these reports, they already have an idea of what the data is, and they've offered a lot of feedback about what we could do to improve the data and how it needs to be cleaned. So the use case is pretty much if you have a really messy Excel source and different grains, and it's not a single table, and you're going to need to do a lot of transforming before you can even start pulling it into a database. And obviously it's a stepping stone to make the ETL process later on. I've talked about why we thought it was good, and obviously since we have all that logic in VBA, we can just upload it into C# and convert the VBA logic into C#, and then we have our C# script already. And it just helps to go back and forth with the client and get that data cleaned in the correct way, and then let them play with it and look at it themselves, which stimulates the conversation a lot more than just explaining to them what the data will look like. Some drawbacks, I guess, to this is the client might be inclined to think that it's done, they have the data in Tableau, but you have to be able to really let them know why you're still going to be putting this into a database and the benefits of creating the whole ETL process. You don't want them to think that this is the permanent solution. And obviously, you'll have to check the data for accuracy a second time once it's in the ETL, which is not too much of a backdraw, but I guess it is another step. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on kind of if you think this is a good idea, a bad idea, and why. Maybe there are other use cases that we could use this kind of a VBA macro, get data into the ETL process, and just make the customer satisfied quickly and feel like things are getting done, and they can start to see the results of what they're paying us to do within days, which I'm sure any client would be happy to see that.